Hello, my name is Rufus Reid. As a jazz bassist and composer, it is my honor to introduce to you an American treasure, Elizabeth Catlett. She is one of our most important artists. 4 of her works inspired my composition, Quiet Pride. It was written for a large jazz orchestra. Movement 1 is entitled Recognition, recognizing the unity of 2 individuals becoming an entity. Movement 2 is entitled Glory. I was inspired by the powerful, unique beauty of this black woman's face that exemplifies courage, strength, and determination. The third movement is entitled Mother and Child. This sculpture embodies, in the simplest of line and form, the indisputable bond between mother and child. Movement 4 is entitled Singing Head. Immediately upon seeing this sculpture, I heard the resonance of a human voice. The melody was beautiful and powerful. Quiet Pride was awarded the Sackler Composition Prize for 2006, the very first year in which jazz was the genre chosen for these original works. With a multimedia large-screen presentation of her works which inspired my music, Quiet Pride will be presented live via large jazz ensemble augmented with French horns and female voice.
The thing that surprised me most about winning the Sackler Award for my original composition was there was a lot of interest about you, Elizabeth Catlett, as my inspiration. I now realize that many people don't know, as I didn't, the importance of your life as an activist for women's rights and human rights, as well as your work as an artist.
I've been exhibiting in schools and universities for a long time. Now that I'm collaborating with you, Rufus Reid, with your music and my artwork, I feel a little overwhelmed. We're bringing together art and music to people who haven't had much exposure to people like us.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
In this program, we will also present the documentary Betty and Pancho, created and produced by her 3 sons. It is this piece which vividly describes Elizabeth Catlett as a powerful advocate for women's rights, civil rights, and human rights throughout the 20th century to this day.
My father's mother was a slave in Virginia, and when emancipation came, her free uncle who lived in Washington went to Virginia to bring her back. He had to pay for all the seats in one car in order to bring her on the train. My mother's father and mother were slaves in North Carolina. And they were adults, young adults, I guess under 20, when they were emancipated. My grandfather went to work on the railroads, and he earned enough money to buy a 14-acre farm in Lincolnton. He and my grandmother were married, and they had 4 sons and then 4 daughters. They educated their sons through university. My mother came to Washington to help a cousin as a seamstress, and she met my father, who had been teaching at Tuskegee in Alabama when Booker T. Washington and Dr. George Washington Carver were there. And he and my mother were married and had 4 children. 1 died, and it was my brother John, my sister Sierra, named for my grandmother, and me. My father died before I was born. In fact, my mother didn't even know she was pregnant. And I wanted to be an artist. And since I was a little girl, my mother bought me art materials that she could afford so that I could draw and paint and sometimes model a little bit. When I finished high school, I went to Pittsburgh to try to enter Carnegie Technical Institute. I was told at the time that they had no black students, but I was sure that I had enough talent to get in. One day, hearing one of the professors say, "It's too bad she's colored," I thought he meant that it would hinder me in some way in my career, but I didn't think it had anything to do with my entering Carnegie, but it did. So I went back to Washington and entered Howard University. In the middle of my education at Howard, I think the Public Works of Art something came into existence, and the teachers at Howard thought there should be black artists on the program. This was for unemployed artists. And they sent 2 students, Henry Hudson and myself. He did a mural. I wasn't prepared because I had been studying design. I was limited to Friday nights to work on my project, which was a mural for the entrance lobby of the Minor Teachers College across the street. But what happened during that period was, in order to find out what a mural was, I discovered the Mexican muralists, Diego Rivera, David Alfaro Siqueiros, and Jose Clemente Orozco. Served me greatly. I went to the University of Iowa to study with Grant Wood, because it was $75 a semester. And after 2 years, I received a Master of Fine Arts degree, the first earned Master of Fine Arts degree in the history of the University of Iowa. From there, I went to Dillard University in New Orleans and stayed 2 years teaching art. A retrospective of Picasso came to the Delgado Museum. It's now the New Orleans Museum of Art. I had seen it in Chicago, and I wanted my art history students, who didn't know anything about art, to see the Picasso show. It was in City Park, but black people were not allowed in City Park, where the museum was. I was determined that my students would see this exhibition, and got permission to bring them on a Monday when the museum is closed. The students were fascinated with Picasso. One way, they liked him or they didn't like him, but they were very impressed, very excited.
Our goal is to create a large-scale multimedia work which will enlighten, entertain, inform, and stimulate conversation and study between art departments, women's studies, music departments, Afro-American studies, and the community at large.
I have a son who's a jazz drummer, but I've never had a jazz musician as a friend before, Rufus. And I've learned a lot just knowing you. I feel very honored that you've written some music based on my artwork.
It's thrilling just to even hear that. And I, too, have not had an artist as a friend.
Oh, good.
That's really true. It is thrilling to know you and to learn more about what you do and actually how you do it. It's really thrilling.
Thank you.
So I feel the same way.
Thank you.